What are you seeing as how Purdue sort of evolved in the last month, especially as they had some personnel changes they had to make? How's that kind of changed?
Oh, I think their movement on both ends is incredible, and Robbie Hummel's numbers speak for themselves, and what he's done in the last 3-4 weeks with the points, the rebounds, the getting to the foul line. But his defense is excellent. But they're getting great movement. They're aggressive on the offensive backboards, even more than what they've been, and they're shooting the ball with a ton of confidence, and they're playing very fast, very fast. And to me, their movement without the ball and the way the ball moves is what really stands out about how they're playing, and they're defending at a high level.
The fact that you guys are going to be playing at senior night, you have a big rival. I mean, just what do you figure the atmosphere is going to be?
Oh, I think the atmosphere will be incredible. I think it'll be one of the best that we've witnessed, and deservedly so. Our fans are excited. They've been phenomenal for 4 years, let alone this year. So I think it'll be a tremendous atmosphere, and one where we've got to stay really, really focused on what we're doing, which is the game plan, and how hard you have to play, how tough you have to be. But the game plan we want to execute. So that's what our focus is more than anything else.
And I know that you're in the moment with the season, but I mean, have you given yourself a chance at all to think about just these seniors and what they've done to the program?
I think about them a lot in the sense that they epitomize what happens when you really stick with it, when you work hard, when you're dedicated, when you don't expect things to be handed to you. And I think, again, the way I think of it, I don't know all the Indiana tradition, but I would think the one thing that this group has done that stays constant with the Indiana tradition is none of them were ever handed anything. They've had to earn everything. No matter what the tradition was, no matter who was here, no matter what the records were, if you've come into Indiana, you have to earn your way in. And I think that's exactly what our guys have done. And they've just continued to get better and better. And they've been excellent citizens. I tell you one thing that stands out is how well raised they were. Certainly been well coached, but well raised. Great families, and when you have that, certainly you're way ahead of the game in a lot of stretches. And these guys have continued to respond to everything that's been thrown at them and everything that they've been asked to do, and they've just continued to improve with it.
How much specifically just has Verdell meant to this program? He's obviously had been a guy that's had to be a forefront through all of this, had to buoy this program a lot in the previous couple of years. Just how?
Well, I think that the last thing left for him was winning, and I think that's exactly what he'll leave with. And I think that's big because he's scored a lot of points and done a lot of things and played in a lot of big games. And the next step was to leave here as a guy that people knew for winning. And I think that's exactly what he and the other seniors, when it's all said and done, will get to walk out here with. They came at an unprecedented time. Nobody knew what to expect. They were asked to do things that they were not ready for, with nobody to show them the way. And they've had to learn the hard way. And that's where what they've gained in these 4 years will just be absolutely invaluable to what they do the rest of their lives. But I think it's also things that fans, especially parents, can point to and say, this is what happens when you really stick with it. This is what happens when you can deal with adversity and you don't let adversity beat you and eliminate you from the mix. This is what happens when you're focused on what it takes to be successful even when you're not, and knowing that if you keep doing it, those times will come. So I think Verdell epitomizes that as well as the other guys.
How much did he kind of evolve year by year? I mean, it seemed like every year he was being asked to do something different. He had a sort of a major change in role every year and had to be, again, prominent in every way, shape, and form.
Well, he came in at about 162 pounds, so that's seriously.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest thing that hold on a second. I think that's the biggest thing that he's done, and he's just continued to evolve as a player, and a guy that has played a lot of different roles on this team, and plays an incredibly valuable one now because he's a starter. I mean, that's how. And when I said that months ago, that's the way we looked at it. When you've got a group of guys that you feel that good about, and he's been that way here for a very long time. I think the biggest step this year has been his defense, and I think that's what's enabled him to get better. It's helped our team get better, and he does what it takes to win. I mean, he's as much part of the shot Christian Watford hit against Kentucky as anybody else because he had the presence of mind to pivot, throw it back, and give him a bullet, right on point pass that he could nail in a short clock situation. So that to me is great growth, and I think Verdell has grown a lot throughout this program. But again, all these guys have been well raised. I mean, it's not like it's hard to get them to do the right thing. Now, coaching and getting them to be better as players, that's our job. But they have really been raised the right way. They understood the value of academics. I mean, we've got 2 that are already graduates and 3 that are going to graduate here in a couple of months. It's a big deal.
He talked about just coming into this year and realizing that it's kind of more his job to move the ball, not necessarily to defer, but to get other guys' shots more than to get his own. It seemed like he kind of said that, it wasn't like you had to tell him to do that. He kind of recognized what else was around here and how he could best be used. How much
That's
maturity
growth.
did that show?
That's maturity. I'll give you an example. JD pointed this out the other day. We were 162 in the country last year in three-point percentage. As of the other day, we're 4th, correct?
Correct.
Cody Zeller's got a lot to do with that. He hasn't even taken a 3. Verdell Jones has got a lot to do with that because he moves the ball at a really good rate. And when you move the basketball and you understand where to get people's shots, that's a big thing. What he's got to continue to do is take care of it, make great decisions, be strong with it, continue to knock down shots where they're at, and continue to when we've had the 7 rebound games or the 8 deflection games, that's been really, really good. Those things, when you're in the part of a team, those things are so valuable to success. And a lot of times, the 20-point nights and those things stand out, but it's all those other things. Verdell has learned that. Verdell has learned that you can impact winning a lot of different ways. So that's a great example of the way he moves the ball.
My last one to bother you on that, leadership for him. I guess how big is he?
Maturity. Become one of the more vocal guys. Not afraid to, a great reminder, which I think is what leadership is a lot of times anyways. He reminds guys what they have to do. He reinforces it. And again, those guys didn't have anybody showing them that when they got here. I mean, I don't think you can quantify that. I can't, and I lived it. There was nobody here to show them, hey, this is how you are successful in college. So those guys have had to learn that, and they've had to wear a lot of different hats, and they had to wear hats they weren't ready for when they got here. There's no doubt about that. But they've continued to wear those hats well, and I think when you get a guy like Verdell that does such a good job, he's a calming influence. He knows the game. He's very, very smart, and he can verbalize that to his teammates. That's great leadership.
You talk about that growth as a group, and do you feel like, I know you talked for 3 years about them learning accountability, learning leadership. Have they gotten to that point
Sure,
where maybe
absolutely.
they are those seniors now that you
Well, yeah,
wanted them to
absolutely.
become that show the younger guys how to do it?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in that sense, absolutely. But this was not any common growth process for these guys. I mean, because you have people that are there that you just kind of learn by example. You learn from people being hard on you. You learn from successes and mistakes, and you see all these different things. Well, they didn't have a lot of that. They didn't have that. So I think, again, if I could say anything about this class, they have earned their way in Indiana basketball because, again, they fit the bill where nothing's handed to you in this program, where it doesn't matter if you're an All-American coming in. It doesn't matter if you're a walk-on coming in. When you're at Indiana, you're a part of something bigger than yourself. What will really, really show up is 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road when these guys are fully grown men with families and businesses and finishing playing careers or whatever it is, and there will not be, I would be hard-pressed to imagine there'd be any obstacle they would run into in life that they would not be able to deal with based on their 4 years here. That doesn't happen all the time, and I think that's now, how do you know? You don't, but I just bet that there's going to be a day when those guys are faced with things that it won't rattle them because of everything they've dealt with.
Do the frustration of the first 3 years, does that kind of make the legacy of this group different than maybe past years? You know, maybe Indiana in its heyday, those guys who graduated 4 years of NCAA tournaments.
Maybe.
Is it different?
It's hard for me to put, when you're in the season like this and we still got a lot of basketball to go, it's really hard to be reflective with it. And I'm trying to do a good job of that because I know that's important for tomorrow. But, yeah, I mean, everybody's gone through this together. The fans, they learned how valuable winning is and how to enjoy it and what happens when you lose it. And our players have learned how hard it is and how fragile it is and all those different things. So, when it's all said and done, there'll be a way to look at legacy. I mean, we're not there yet at all, and I'm not in that mode of thinking. When you look at the 4-year process of how they've grown, that's easy for me to do. When you look at where they'll fit in when it's all said and done, that's a lot harder for me to do. But they fit somewhere, believe me, because it was just such unprecedented times here.
Corey
You know,
hasn't played a lot of minutes, but how has he made this program better?
Well, he's got a great personality. He's one of the most well-liked people you're going to be around. Very smart, very mature, sees things. Tremendous with helping build this program in the sense of how he's been as a host, how he's been on unofficial visits, and he is an incredible representative of the program. Again, incredibly well raised. They've been a great representative of this program who practices hard every day and has gotten better. He's gotten better. Has it showed up on the court? No. It just the opportunity's not there. But he has gotten better, and I think that's what I would say. He's really, he's grown in his seriousness as a student. His grades have been outstanding. He had the highest GPA on our team a semester ago. And he was always a good student, but I think when you look at the diligence and seriousness he has for it, I think there's been great growth there. So he's meant a lot to it, and he's somebody that I think will always be, I don't think his contributions to Indiana basketball are anywhere near done.
How do you sort of deal with him? I don't want to say deal with him different. I don't know if that maybe doesn't sound right, but he's obviously a guy who wants to be a coach really bad. Like that's kind of his biggest purpose here, I guess. How much do you sort of coax him along that line? I mean, do you try to get him to see things?
A lot more the last couple of years. A little bit more this year of just letting him enjoy the process. I don't worry about it because I think he sees things pretty good. I think he takes care of a lot of things on his own. Maybe in the past it was more, how is this, how is that? You might need to cover this, you might need to cover that. I don't do that as much anymore. I think he's got great trust in him. And I think he's got a real assumed responsibility, which is good. And that's what coaches have to have. I mean, the thing I learned first interview I was ever on with Ralph Willard, he said, I don't want coaches that bring me problems. I want coaches that bring me solutions to the problems. That's a lot easier said than done. I mean, it really is. It's hard. To this day, it's hard. But I mean, I think when you got trust in your people, and you trust what they're trying to do and their intentions and all those different things, then you're kind of calm with it, and it's been like that. I mean, he's got a lot going on in his life. He's getting married. He's a senior. He's going to graduate. He's done a fantastic job here. He's got a future ahead of him, and I'm very confident with what he's brought. And this year has been really, really good for him to really have that, find his niche of leadership. And it's hard when you're not playing, but he's done a good job of that.
And guys talk about.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Fans have really been giving Tom Pritchard a lot of love this year. Is that an appreciation for what this group has gone through, or what Tom has gone through?
Well, I would imagine. I would imagine. I mean, I still remember how they chanted for him when we played IUPUI, the second game of his college career. And we remember going to Notre Dame and him being double-teamed nonstop. Not going to Maui to play Notre Dame, being double-teamed nonstop. Yeah, I think so. I think this is such a great fan base that they get it. And again, when we all started, nobody knew. It's like a UFO. You know, you're seeing something, you're just not quite sure what it is. You know, but you know it's there. You know, nobody else may believe you, but it's there. And I think that's what's happened here. I think these people know that these guys, they've given it. You know, they didn't run and hide. They took accountability. They worked, and it has not been easy. But they have persevered, and they're being rewarded for their perseverance. And I think the fans do that. I think the fans know that.
I know Dave talked about individually how tough it might be for them to give those speeches and get to the microphone and see. How tough is it going to be for you?
I'm not in that mode. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be elusive on that. I'm all locked into Purdue. I mean, I love these guys, so those things are always hard, but I'm not in a reflective state.
Are these guys practicing?
You understand what I mean? I don't mean that negatively. I'm just not.
Are these guys practicing at the level that you want them to be at this point in the season, and as crisp as you need them to be?
Oh yeah, very much so. Very much so. Yeah, I mean, we're very conscious of that, but we've been conscious of that all month. I mean, all month of February. Yeah. So we really tailor-made our practices for the long haul, and I think it's helped us. And in fact, yesterday, I mean, we were done with official practice after about 40 minutes. It was going so well. So today we needed to get a few more things done, but absolutely.
What just kind of going back to Purdue, and you know, obviously that first game was pretty brutal. You know, just really sort of a really intense game. Basically,
which one? The one there? You mean this year?
The one there this year. Just how much? What are you just sort of expecting?
There's no question. It'll be the same and more because we need to bring it at that level with a high edge, and we fully expect that they will. And I don't think there's any doubt they're playing great basketball. I mean, you could put them up in as one of the better teams in the country the last few weeks with the way that they're playing. And they don't put a guy out on the court that can't affect the game. And if anything, they're with Barlow not there now, they're more than ever having a shooter in the game. I mean, there's more shooters in the game that you have to account for. So, and Hummel's, you could argue that right now with Draymond Green being as effective as he is and Robbie Hummel being as effective as he is, we're playing against maybe the two most efficient guys around. You'd put them up with anybody in America. There, I would. I mean, and I haven't watched everybody, but with what those guys are getting done, it's amazing.
What is cued Hummel? I know he's been playing real well for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Is it experience, or is there something?
I don't know him like that. So I think he's really good. He's moving great, very efficient. I mean, you can just see that he's got a natural spark to him. And again, I don't know him, so I'm just going based on what I observe. He's got a natural leadership and toughness to him, but he's got a spark, and he's as efficient without the ball as he is with it. And that's coming to a guy in the last 5-6 games that's averaged about 16, 17 shots. But he, again, we're playing against two very, very hard matchups now, and both teams have other really good players. I mean, DJ Bird's ability to rebound right now as a guard is tremendous, not to mention his shooting. And Lewis Jackson, if he's in the lane, something good is happening for their team. Ryan Smith, I mean, you can't leave him. So, I mean, they've just got numerous guys that make plays, but I would just think that his that spark that he gives his team on a possession-by-possession basis is really strong.
Is there a difference in him between now and the beginning of the month, or is it just because he's been asked to do more with?
No, he was really efficient. No, I just think I think it started when you watch the Ohio State game, you go, whoa, look at this. I mean, they really, really are moving. I mean, they've got a lot of veterans, and they've got seniors and juniors that have been through it, and they have great, it looks like they have great synergy and chemistry, however you want to look at it, on the court. And there's no question Matt's a great coach. I mean, they're doing what he wants, I would think. I mean, the movement and the assists and the rebounding and the shots and the thing that scares me the most in this game is the way they create extra possessions. And there's a lot of great personnel in the game. They've got a very efficient offensive and defensive system, but the way they create extra opportunities for themselves, much like Michigan State, is the scariest part of this game, the most concerning part of this game, I should say.